All right. Hello, everybody. I'm James Barnum with ETPerform.com, and I'm joined by, and I love saying this, the lovely and talented and hoodied and apparently in a hotel in the mountains, April Blackford. Hello,
Hi,
April.
everybody. Hi, everybody.
We're going to answer some questions for you guys today in a question and answer format. So you're going to ask the questions, and we're going to answer them. And I'm really looking forward to doing this because I haven't been on a webinar in a couple weeks, and I don't know if you can tell, but I look like I'm exploding. And I'll get into that as we wait for you guys to submit questions. So as far as questions go, topics can include anything related to training, whether it's CrossFit, whether it's running, anything like that, or our specialty, which is nutrition and how you can make yourself lose body fat or build muscle or improve performance and all of that good stuff. So go ahead and submit your questions and we'll get to them in a timely fashion. And Gail asked a question. She said, should I be able to hear you? I can see your mouth moving, but I can't hear anything. You can now, yes. I don't know what happens with the software once we actually enter into the scheduled period. So that was, I didn't know you could see me. So I'm glad I wasn't doing anything silly. Anyway, yeah, ask us some questions. It doesn't matter if it's a giant, lengthy question that you need answered or if it's just a short little clarification on something. If you don't know who I am, you don't know who April is the administrator of our support forum. So she's pretty much the guru. She is the source of most of the interpersonal interaction along with the rest of our team. And I'm kind of behind the scenes writing things. I've had a hand in all of the materials that you got, Metflex, the meal planning guide, even the recipe book a little bit. And I co-wrote Your Diet Sucks, our flexible eating guide with April. So we're both kind of the source, part of the core of Eat to Perform. And anything that you might want to ask us about, anything specific like that, we'll be able to answer. So all of that said, I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys. And I've been very excited to go ahead and talk about this, so I'm going to. I am a power lifter. I've been doing raw powerlifting, which is, you know, you just lay down on a bench, you just put a bar on your back and squat. Everyone's familiar with that for the past couple years now. But I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what? I want to go and venture into new territory, and I started doing some equipped bench pressing because I have shoulder problems that prevent me from really handling any heavy weight. And, you know, handling heavy weight's fun. It kind of sucks when you can't increase your max because you have an anatomical defect, in my case. So I am wearing supportive devices like this and this so I can handle more weight, and it's a lot of fun. But it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on everything. So I have burst blood vessels all over my body, and I look scary in my opinion. But thankfully it's right after Halloween. So
Why don't you explain to us essentially what that is for the viewers who do not know? Is it like a double Spanx suit that just sucks everything in? Or
to a certain extent, yes. It's like a Spanx. But it's mostly, it's very, very stiff. So it's not really stretchy, but it does compress under load. So for an example, the most that I ever really train my bench press with is like 200 pounds. I'll do that for repetitions. And I usually don't pause at my chest. I usually bring the bar about yay before I hit my chest because that last little teeny bit of range of motion is just terrible, terrible, terrible. Just painful, like it injures me. So I've gotten to the point where now I'm using equipment to kind of work around that so that I can work the rest of my arms and shoulders and everything like that. But in relation, it's essentially taking weight, getting to a point where you have to pull the bar down into you because it's so stiff. So if I put 135 on a bar, I can't even bring it down. You know, I can bend my arms just a teeny little bit and it won't go any further. So I have to put more weight on there or develop a much stronger back. But I'll talk more about that at some point later. We are getting our first questions. our first question is from Gail, and I want to thank you for reaching out, Gail, and being our first questioner. So she says, I've just joined the program. I've purchased the 4 books. I have not had time to get real serious, and I'm at a loss as to where to begin. What book do I read first? Where do I start with my diet? I CrossFit 3 to 5 days a week, depending. When I'm at work, I do a lot of sitting. Does this change how many calories I should be consuming? And I say, let's approach that in the reverse order, and I'm going to have April go first. I'll give my 2 cents, but April is, in my opinion, she's got a better perspective on things. Just
the first book that I would suggest is Netflix, because it is it's kind of the core of Eat to Perform, and it kind of will explain to you why you want to eat carbs around your workouts and when and so forth. I would recommend that book first. The second thing that I would do is sign up to, if you have the extra time, go ahead and sign up to gain admission to the Science Lab. We can help you there. You can either try to run your numbers in the calculator, automatically, but we can do all that for you and kind of guide you and hold your hand and so forth. I do think that it's handy for you to go ahead and start tracking your food intake for a couple of days, just to see what your normal calorie intake is, and then that way you can see where you need to either build up or take away from there, based off of what your goals are, and then kind of work and go from there and build a plan from there. What do you think, James?
That's what I think. That's my go-to response, is to read Netflix, because that's the first book. That's the opus. That's the most technical book I think that we have, but I think it's got the most valuable information in it, because to be frank, Your Diet Sucks is kind of like more an examination of the psychological aspects and behavioral elements of managing your nutrition. And while it's cool to read about that stuff, getting into the forum and coming to webinars like this it's a little bit easier, because we can kind of identify specifically what's going on. Like, just for example, I'm 27 and I'm single. I have to cook all of my own food. I oftentimes have to rely upon less than optimal food to eat. So if I were to coach myself, I'd say, Jimmy, why are you making the excuse to get to frickin' McDonald's when you're working and you're busy and you have 2 gym sessions or something like that? Why are you doing that to yourself? That's a behavior that I would need to change. But if we're looking at someone that, say, never ever deviates from a diet of clean foods, and they go to like a birthday party, this is an example I like to use. They go to a birthday party for one of their kids or one of their friends' children or something like that. It's a gathering, and there's food that doesn't fall into the typical list of foods that we consider good, and you won't eat it because you don't want to get fat, or you don't want to make yourself unhealthy or sick or something like that. And it's really just kind of like a psychological, it's a psychosomatic effect that you're applying to yourself. You're not really going to get fat if you eat a piece of cake at a birthday party. And it's reinforced by weight gain and by bloating and water retention under the skin and stuff like that. But as far as getting past all of that, it does come down to support. It comes down to talking to people. It comes down to being reinforced over and over and over again. Like, yeah, you can have cake and not get fat overnight. So that's my 2 cents on the subject. I think what April said, to read Netflix, get into the forum if you have time, that's the best way to go about things, because we can give you some support, some help on your way. And you're welcome, Gail. Our second question is from Kara. She says, I'm new to ETP, need to lose fat, stumped with where to start, how to figure out the best meal plan to lose, and also increase my performance in the gym. I've read all the books. Do you help with meal planning? We don't necessarily write out meal plans. What we typically like to do is just work with people to get to kind of identify where they need work. Like I use, for example, me. If I have a lot of stuff going on, I will justify going and eating fast food when I know that I know that it's bad for me. I know that it's not the best thing in the world. But then, as far as performance is concerned, I know that I need to eat a lot of calories. Like, I am not working out to look good. I'm not working out to lose fat. And it's not necessarily about my health anymore. It's about performance. It's about going and winning medals. So when it comes down to it, I need to eat a lot. I need to eat to maintain my body weight. If I don't put 4,000 calories into my mouth every day, I need to reconsider what I'm doing. So blah, 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 blah. Let's go and re-examine the question. Sorry. Okay, so you've read all the books. We don't necessarily help with meal planning, but if you get into the forum or you have a specific question, you want to have someone look at what you're eating right now, you can probably make a simple little modification to what you're eating, what your meal plans look like right now, theoretically. They don't have to be written down. And that can help you optimize what's going on so that you can start to move towards losing fat. But April, go ahead and do some talking because I'm blabbering.
I agree with what you said. Get in the forum. You've read all the books. We can help you get started on your macros. If you're just completely clueless, you know, I tell people all the time, I can tell you what to eat, you know, but what I tell you what to eat and what you enjoy eating or can eat, you know, may be two different things. You know, no one wants to eat the exact same amount of thing every single day, or they don't want to eat, you know, just, you know, simple standard carbs like rice, potatoes, and nothing else, and, you know, that type of thing. You know, I can tell you what to eat all day long, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to adhere to it if it's not something that you enjoy. We usually do recommend, you know, if you get into the forum, we've got a long list of slow digesting carbs, fast digesting carbs, you know, kind of anything under the sun, or if there's ever a food that you're unsure of, if it's a carb or a protein or a fat or whatever, ask a question. We'll help you. It does help a lot of members if they, because there's, you know, we've got, you know, close to 10,000 members in the forum, and, you know, a lot of them are active, and it does help a lot of times if you, you know, I don't really want to use the word stalk, but, you know, generally there's a lot of active members and a lot of people that will have similar stats and goals as you and also work out the same amount of time as you do, and they're seeing phenomenal progress. So you may want to, you know, a lot of the members will have their food diaries linked in their signature lines, so when they post, you can, you know, you can see it down there, and all you got to do is click on it. You don't even have to ask them. You know, so you can see, kind of stalk around and see what other people are eating and get ideas. And we have a recipe section in the forum. You know, it's, you know, it's all about kind of getting in, kind of getting active and getting involved. And I think that it's, you know, the people that, the members who are the most active and, you know, stay involved are the ones that have the most success, in my opinion.
All right. And that, yeah, that's a great place to start no matter what you're doing. And you should check out the calculator too, if you haven't, Kara, because that can give you, I mean, right off the top of your head, you just put in your weight and your height, and it gives you at least a calorie goal to eat towards. And we harp on that all the time, that that's pretty much the most important factor of a diet when you're looking at all of the numbers and stuff. If you're not eating enough calories to lose weight, or you're not eating enough calories to maintain body weight, then your performance isn't going to be so good. Your body composition is going to become stagnant at best, or you might start putting on fat even if you're not eating enough because you're not building muscle. It's like that saying, if you're not improving, then you're getting worse, because time is constantly eating away at all of us. So yeah, you're welcome, Kara. I'm sorry I had to end that on a kind of a dark note. But yeah, anyone else that's joined and you weren't here 15 minutes ago when we started, we are answering your questions. April and I'm James. This is April. She might appear as a little box in the bottom of the right-hand corner, but if she says hello, she'll become gigantic on the screen. And yeah, so we're answering your questions about training and nutrition, large or small. If you need help setting up your macros, we usually try to get to a few of those throughout the presentation. But you know, pretty much any question. It doesn't matter if it's something that you think has been asked 1,000 times or if it's something that's completely out of this world. We'll answer it, and we'll be honest with you, and we'll try to be helpful. So I'm going to move on to another question from Shellen Thomas. Shellen says, hi, I'm new to, and I saw on the Science Lab you can post all your statistics and not have them public to get help with the calculator. Could you explain how to do that? Thank you thank you very much for doing the webinars. All right, to post your stats and not have them be public.
If I would actually recommend private messaging either a moderator, or you can private message myself. And if you don't want your information posted publicly, you just private message someone, and it will be in a private conversation, and we can help you. And you don't have to post it publicly.
All right. Hopefully that answers your question. I think it does. Um, so we need more questions. If you have anything, like I said, not ready to go public yet. I mean, that's completely understandable. I'll use this kind of as an anecdote to fill in space while someone hopefully asks us a question, because we have another 40 minutes, you guys. Anything you want to ask us. If you want to ask why I'm wearing the color shirt that I'm wearing, you go for it. If you want to ask about that poster I have in the background, or what's outside that door, you never know. But I'd like to bring this up as an anecdote. My girlfriend just started working out with me, which is cool. It's awesome because it's a way to enrich our relationship, and that's just like, that's awesome. Oh, Teddy, he's here. I knew he'd be here.
Finally.
I'm gonna finish my little story. So my girlfriend started working out with me, and she's very, very, very self-conscious. She's never been to a gym really before. This is probably her 4th time setting foot in a gym, other than going to the YMCA with her mother, because her mother was a personal trainer when she was a little girl. So now that she's going with me, she'll be lifting weights, she'll be doing a dumbbell bench press or something, and she's just constantly worried about everyone looking at her and judging her. And, you know, when it comes down to it, I really don't think that people are looking at what you're doing with all that much malice and judgment. I think for the most part, when people go into a gym, even if they're the big dog, even if they're the wad killer, even if they're shredded and they're 6% body fat and they're huge, they're squatting 500 pounds or something like that, they're probably looking at you like, I was there at some point and I can help that person if they want my help, but they're not looking at you like, silly newbie, why are you here?
I completely agree. I totally agree.
I mean, would you agree with me, April, in saying that, not CrossFit specifically, but fitness in general, it's really like a cult. It's really like a giant family. When you invest yourself, I mean, look at the internet. Like I've met like Chad Smith a couple times, and I've gone to big powerlifting meets, and I've met all the big powerlifters, and I talk to pretty much everybody. I get involved in their conversations or message them on a daily basis. All the big names in the fitness industry, and it's like everyone's so inclusive. Everyone wants to share information and help everyone out, even if it's something they do for a living. So I mean, has it been similar for you since you got?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that when you're passionate about something. When you're passionate about something, your heart goes into it, and you want to help others, even though you're not getting paid for it, or even if you are, it's just a passion. You just enjoy helping other people. And I've had new women and new men at my gym. You can tell that they're newbies, and and I've helped them before, and they've been more than grateful. And there's been a lot of women who I could tell were kind of in a similar situation where they were kind of self-conscious, or and I try to encourage them, and come back tomorrow, I'll show you some things, or you kind of try to be friendly with them to let them know that it's not it's not the horrible place that they think it is. And everybody doesn't think that staring at them like they're the newbie that doesn't know what they're doing type thing.
Yeah, and let's be honest, that does happen. You do look at people they just start, and you're like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. But it's not always, a negative thing. It's more so that you've been there and you want to help them out. So
I hate to interrupt you, but anytime I ever see anybody like that, the first thing that comes to my mind is I just want to go and just like grab their hand and say, hey, you have to make sure your diet is on point, because you can make so many gains between now and the next year. Please make sure that you're eating enough. Please make sure that you are fueling these workouts, because you know as well as I know, you get the like I was just getting ready to say about, your girlfriend. I've met her. She could be totally jacked in a year, if she ate properly.
Yes.
Just by starting, with lifting and that type of thing.
Only she's like 5'1" maybe. She weighs 90 pounds, and when I met her, she weighed less. Like she's been doing like stretching with me, and she's eating more because I have to eat so much. Like she's literally a half of me. But that's a great point. That's the most important part. You can, and it just goes back to calories in, calories out, and how important that is. If you approach getting fit and getting into shape as like Paul talks about this all the time, this is a perfect analogy, as a manner of subtraction, then you're never really going to reach your full potential. And I mean your full potential as in having a good fat to lean mass ratio, strength, or even your happiness and your enjoyment of working out. You need to eat a lot comparatively to your average person because you're asking more and more and more of your body as you go through. And that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make, is to deprive yourself when you start. But unfortunately, our culture is kind of set up like that we look at working out as like punishment, and that might be where some of that stigma comes from when you step into the gym and you're like, they're all working out, they all know what they're doing, everyone's looking at me like I don't know what I'm doing and they want me to leave. But no, we want you. We want you to eat food and lift weights and talk and become a part of our giant cult that's obsessed with bigger squats and deadlifts and clean and jerks and snatches and getting big booties and stuff like that. And I'm gonna shut that down now because I got to the booty part. But yeah. So okay, Teddy, real quick, my cut. I am not cutting anymore. In true fashion for myself, I am trying to maintain weight and get comfortable sitting around 185. I got into equipped benching, and I got some shirts lent to me, so my arms aren't big enough. I got to put some meat on my arms. So I'm not cutting weight anymore. And I think I look really good right now. I'm actually very satisfied with how I look. I won't get naked or anything right now, but trust me, it's going well. So I have a question from
you changed your focus because you don't want to buy new shirts. You want to grow to fit into the shirts that were lent to you. That's a good plan. That sounds like something I would do.
Well, even if it weren't for the shirts, like I don't know. Brandon Lilly said this. There are no weight classes in the jungle. If I end up being gigantic, if I end up being 260 pounds at 5'6", if that's what I got to do to lift as much as I want, it's not going to happen overnight. I'm an active person. I don't have off days. I do cardio and lift weights, and my cardio is pretty intense, running and doing circuit training and stuff. And all the weight that I gain is going to be in good places for the most part. And this is something important for all of us to realize. No one's really looking at you and judging you. It all ties together. No one is judging you once you get going and you're fit and you're working out and stuff. No one's judging you for not having abs. It's something that we kind of focus on and we kind of become obsessed with. But no one is judging you for not having abs. Just like no one's judging you for, not having a mustache or something. It's important to understand, like, you're going to be involved in fitness for so long. You kind of have to focus on things that last a long time. And if you know anything about what it's like to have abs, it's kind of hard to sustain. You kind of get sick of it. You kind of feel like crap. You can't sleep. You don't feel so good. I think, my approach to going, I want to cut weight, and then realizing, no, my journey actually lies in getting gigantic. And I mean big and strong and jacked. I want giant traps. I want all my clothes to fit tight. I have to buy new clothes. That's what I want to go for. And I know it's hard for women to look at it like that, and it's hard for men to look at it like that too. If you know anything about me, April, how much did I weigh 2 years ago?
Oh, it was like 110.
About there. I was like 15 pounds.
115. I was close. Yeah.
Very close, but I've gained 70 pounds, and the weight doesn't look bad on me. I went from
I totally agree. Yeah.
So I know that it's hard for women to to get into that mindset. But gaining weight is hardly ever a bad thing when you're very active. When you're even remotely active. I work a sedentary job, but when I go and I do my cardio and I lift weights, I'm a beast. And the weight that I put on looks good on me. It's muscle. It's a little bit of fat, but it's mostly muscle. So I am going to move on to Sarah's question.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, because we have tons of questions. We're going to go through these things. We're going to get this. For hanging on and letting us have that little discussion, everybody. I hope that it was enjoyable or informative or something like that. Not bad. All right, so Sarah says, hello, I have frequent fatigue and painful joints. I've heard bone broth is a good food source to help alleviate these ailments. Can you make any suggestions? While my tongue is going and my jaws are moving, I'm going to suggest that if your joints hurt and you're frequently fatigued, that depending upon your age, depending upon your lifestyle and your background and everything, chronic fatigue can be improved. It could be improved potentially by working out less, working out more, eating less. I would say if it's that big of an issue, if it's reducing your quality of life, go and talk to a doctor about it. Very first thing, talk to a doctor if it is reducing your quality of life. Okay? Otherwise, foods that you can eat, I think you want to look at if you're not already eating, a healthy amount of fat, maybe like half a gram per pound of body weight. So like if you weigh let's say as a standard, let's say if you're like a 150-pound woman, 75 grams of fat, that's a good place to start. And you go up a little bit if you're a man, and you go up a little bit if you're a little heavier, down a little bit if you're lighter, but having a healthy amount of fat in your diet is really good for your joints because all of your cell membranes are made of fat. And if you're not eating enough protein, that's another place to go. Drinking enough water and making sure that when you work out, you're not putting a huge amount of stress on your joints, that you're not lifting weights with, flimsy form, that you're controlling everything and allowing the muscles to work rather than the joints. But, yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. See a doctor, look into eating more fat, drinking more water, and if you're lifting weights, control the movement. April, what do you think?
I agree. I would just basically take a look at the big picture of, exactly what you were saying. How much are you training versus how much you're eating? I would look at that first and see, because there may be, too much. You may not be eating enough to properly recover from your workouts, hence why you're, chronically fatigued and sore all the time. Maybe seek the advice of your doctor. Basically everything she said. Bone broth does actually help. You may want to think about incorporating fish oil into your diet if you don't, eat a lot of wild fish already. Also, beef gelatin, you can actually buy the powdered form, the unflavored. If you don't want to go through the trouble of making the bone broth, you can actually buy the beef gelatin, and you can add that to pretty much anything that's unflavored, and actually get the benefits. And it does actually give you some protein in with it as well. So.
I think those are all excellent suggestions, and I hope that helps, Sarah. So give those a try. Anything that might be applicable to you. I just got a question from Jonathan Rappa. He says he's a carpenter and he works 8 to 10 hours a day. He's used a pedometer, and he typically walks the equivalent of 5 miles a day. To see results, do I have to put more time in the gym than an average white-collar guy to see results? Well, all that walking you're doing is really helping you build your engine. So I would be surprised if you're like that guy that goes into the gym, and even if you are tired after a long day's work, you're probably not wanting to rest between lots of sets. You're probably a get up and go guy. And while I'm speaking, John, if you want to correct me on that, so you work a lot and you're a carpenter, so your hands are busy. You don't have a sedentary job by any means. You need to do more work in the gym? No, I would say you need to do less work in the gym. I always like to go and reference the work of Dr. Brad Schoenfeld, who has written books that apply to powerlifters like me, and all the way down to, just a soccer mom, so to speak, that wants to look better and get into shape. The guy's research and all of his writing applies to everyone. To see the most improvement for the least amount of time invested in training, for instance, you only really need to do 1 to 3 sets of a movement. And, the primary thing you need to look at is just getting stronger or increasing your repetitions, or increasing your total workload, which would be, say you lift 200 pounds for 5 reps on an exercise for 3 sets. Well, adding a set, adding a repetition, adding anything you can to increase total volume over time. So it's about progressive overload. It's not necessarily that you need to do more work, it's that you need to work smarter. So you might need to lift at heavier percentages. You might have to go in there and really have a good program that has all the fluff taken out. So, you know, that would be like doing bench press versus doing triceps pushdowns and chest flies. Or if you're doing CrossFit, that would be going in there and focusing more on strength work and kind of chilling out on the Metcon. Of course, you know, you have to take into consideration, like, what do you like to do better? Do you like to Metcon? Do you like to lift weights? What kind of time do you have available? These are all important questions to ask. So I'm going to have April go ahead and expand upon that if she can.
I agree. With his active job already, you know, which it's a very strenuous job, you know, with cardio and also lifting things. I think that if he actually, you know, incorporated a lifting plan and basically trained smart, you know, he would not have to do, you know, as much training at all. Not with all the other things. Because basically with his active job, and if he tried to do, you know, a very detailed, in-depth, you know, hard training program, he's going to have to eat a lot of food. You know, if he's working 8 to 10 hours a day already, that's probably going to be, you know, quite difficult to do, to eat that much to support both his job and, you know, a lot of training.
Yeah. I have in one of our incubator groups, we work with gyms, a couple right now, trying to get everybody at these gyms up to speed on ETP Perform in large groups. So it's kind of like extensions of the science lab, but everyone knows each other in real life. So we've worked with a gym, CrossFit Palace, and a group of athletes, Paradigm Performance. And one of the guys in there, I talked to him a couple weeks ago, Zach Williams, and he's got to eat like 7,000 calories a day. No BS. He's got to eat like 7,000 calories every day because he works as a personal trainer and as a, what do you call it, a physical therapist assistant, and he does his own training 6 days a week, and he's in college, and the guy's just got so much going on that his programming is kind of reduced in volume compared to everyone else's. So, you know, you don't really want to bust your ass more. You do want to work smart. You want to find what you need to do. You want to maybe pick a specific goal to go for, like if it's increasing your max bench press. He says, yeah, I think I have to eat more. I always skip breakfast, eat a quick sandwich for lunch, and typically the same for dinner. I would almost guarantee it, Jonathan. You got to eat more. You might be that one of those guys that's just got to go and just pile the food away. And, you know, like I talked about, if you were here in the beginning of the webinar, that might justify going and eating like 80-20 and trying to eat good food most of the time. But if you really need to, getting your butt to a fast food restaurant and making the best decisions that you can make, which I would suggest not eating French fries, believe it or not. I think that's one of the worst things that you can go to a fast food restaurant and get, because most of them are cooked in hydrogenated vegetable oil, which your body cannot process. So if it's like going to I mean, when I eat fast food, I try to avoid going to McDonald's and stuff like that. I'll typically go to Five Guys because they fry everything in peanut oil. And frying food in oil is not necessarily the best thing for you, but peanut oil at least can be broken down by your body and doesn't sit in there and cause and basically cause diabetes and insulin resistance and all these other, you know, ailments that you don't want to get. So avoid French fries if you have to do that. But if you want to get into the forum, Jonathan, and get down to the specifics of what you really need to be eating and get some calorie goals, some macro goals set up, that's probably a good idea, because you're one of the people that would really benefit probably from figuring out a plan to eat more. And, you know, if you are under the impression that, you know, going and eating something that's not on the typical list of good foods is going to derail your progress, it might be the complete opposite thing for you. You might go and start having more cheat meals, even though we don't like that term very often. You might have to start going and having more cheat meals or eating some unclean food here and there, and then just see everything skyrocket. You could start leaning out, putting on muscle, having all your lifts go up. it'd be a great thing, and it would come from doing exactly the opposite of what every other person might tell you to do. So, but we're not about that. We're about real talk, which is that not everyone needs to eat the same thing. Some people can get away with more. So hopefully that answers your question. If not, I say get in the forum, and we'll help you out. So Holly Christ asks, the calculator shows I should be eating around 2,400 calories a day. That seems too high. I don't want to bulk up. Is that going to happen? It's hard for me to imagine that it won't. I'm afraid to eat that much. Thoughts? April?
The first thing I would ask is if you can give us more information, like your stats, your height, your weight, your age, and also the type and frequency of your training, along with what your goals are. We could kind of veer you in the right direction and see if that's more on point or not.
Yeah, because it's going to depend upon, you know, how much energy you burn and what the demands of your activity are. You know, someone that does CrossFit might need more carbohydrates than someone that does just weight training and never does any kind of metabolic conditioning or cardio or anything like that, versus someone that is into running and, you know, doing endurance work. They might have really high energy demands, really high carbohydrate demands. So we need more specifics, but I would say, you know, what's typical is that we do see people gain a couple pounds when they start eating more, but we never suggest that someone just go from eating what they're eating right now to whatever their calorie goal is if they're not comfortable with it. We believe very firmly that you should increase your calories slowly over time and find a sweet spot, because calculators are just suggestions. You know, how crazy would it be if you ended up needing to eat 2,600 calories a day and didn't put on a single pound, but you never knew that because you were never slowly, gradually increasing your calories? It would be crazy, and you'd probably see, like I said, improvements in your performance, improvements in your body composition. So,
you know, speaking of that specific thing, I'm actually working with a lady in the forum who the calculator told her she should eat 2,300 calories, and she has slowly, gradually worked her calories up to over 3,000, and she's still dropping body fat. She's still slowly, the scale is going down, which was her goal, but she's still slowly losing weight. And of course, the calculator told her 2,300. You know, so she knew that she needed to test the limits and try to see, because the goal should always be, you know, you're going to do better off when the math is in your favor. You know, if you're eating 1,500 calories now and you say I need to lose body fat, you know, you got nowhere to go but down. You know, so you got to gradually work your calories up to take them away again. You know, and if you're, you know, to diet smart, you will work your calories up as high as possible to maintain your weight. You know, rather than working them up to 1,800, you might contest it for, you know, 6 more months and work them up to 2,400 and still maintain your weight. And then at that point, you can actually drop body fat and, you know, and focus on dropping scale weight at, say, 2,100 calories versus going down to 1,600 calories. You know, you got to put the math in your favor, in my opinion.
I agree, and for the people that are thinking, well, you know, I don't really like to eat. I'd be fine with eating 900 calories if I needed to lose body fat. Well, you have to consider that if your goal is specifically just to lose body fat, that if you're eating 900 calories and your basal metabolic rate's like 1,600 calories, that there are organ systems that are basically being downregulated. That your DNA is like, nope, not going to make any more muscle, not going to make any more of this. I mean, you're having it go to reserves. You're having it go down to the point where it's like it's really got to pick and choose. Is it going to fuel your brain, or is it going to fuel your fingers? Like, as dumb as that might sound, you're providing so little energy, and if you're not obese and you don't have a lot of fat on your body, it's just not, there's nowhere for it to come from. So it's not a matter of fat loss at that point. It really is a matter of health. It's a matter of, you know, eventually your thyroid saying, screw this, I'm out, and then you got to deal with that. So it's a health issue when it comes down to it. You need to get your calories up higher so that your body has a surplus to run on, just a very slight surplus, and then when you start taking it away, it's not having to make those decisions, so to speak, and deciding whether or not it's going to keep a major part of your endocrine system running, or if it's going to go and maintain muscle tissue. You know, it's priorities. You know, do you decide one month, I have to keep my gym membership, and then you don't have a place to live. Look at it like that. It really is coming down to a decision like that if you don't get your calories up. Not to be alarmist or anything, but that's what I believe because I've gone through it. So I hope that answers your question, Holly. I'd say don't be afraid. See what you can get away with and work with our support because we'll tell you what to do and we'll give you, like I said, the real talk. Are you eating a little too much? You'll be able to tell and you'll be able to reflect upon other people's experiences. So we have another question from Rose Puente. She says, "Hi, I'm also new to ETP. I'm married. I have twin 17-year-old boys. Oh no, they keep you busy. Not to mention you have ADD. So as much as you have initial motivation, need to be held accountable on some level by support from others because I continue failing. Do you have staff available to help with this?" Hopefully you've been listening, Rose, and we do. We certainly do. April and I are part of the core of ETP Perform, but we have a support forum where it's essentially built from people that have come in and have shown that they have their stuff together, so to speak, that they can utilize these methods and they can get good results. And they're people that are passionate about helping others. So we have a whole forum full of these people. All you've got to do is go to etperform.com and go to the Science Lab, register if you haven't, and you can get in there and get pretty much any kind of help on anything that you might need help with. It's a great place, and it's just going to get better with time. So I hope that answers your question, and that you can get into the forum. Adriana isn't here anymore. She left. But she says, meat is really expensive. How can I make sure I'm getting enough protein if I don't have meat every day? I used to go days without eating meat and did not really know what to substitute, so I just didn't. Guessing that's not good. It's not the worst thing in the world. April, you have experience as a vegetarian, correct?
I started to say I think that seafood is a pretty easy way to hit your protein levels without not eating a ton of food. And there's tons of ways. Shop for deals. Look at the weekly store specials. Because I have a family of 5, and I have kids. My daughter's just started college this year, and you have tuition, and hey, you gotta cut your pennies any way you can. So I'm all about finding a deal, to be honest. But looking at the sales, and also in my opinion, I think seafood is a super easy way to hit your protein levels. I'm actually working with a vegan lady right now who, she's actually done a great job on getting her protein levels up, but she uses a lot of soy products, and that's actually a lot of times is more expensive than actually buying the protein, in my opinion. So, I would, just basically just try to be creative and find ways. Even if you go to like a wholesale store and buy stuff in bulk, which is generally going to be cheaper, and either packaging it and freezing it up or preparing everything all at one, for the week, and then that will save you a lot of money rather than just going to the store and buying per meal or per day or every couple of days type thing.
Now, I think that's as good as an answer as I could possibly provide, but I would want to know, Adriana's not here anymore, but if you live in a country where meat isn't as, it's just harder to get, it's easy to get meat in the United States. But I have plenty of friends that live in the UK and plenty of friends that live in Australia, and unless you're on a North American, South American continent, I guess it's not as easy to get beef and stuff. And my suggestion would be to look at it like, as long as it's a complete protein source, you're not doing yourself any harm. And if you can, I know it's not the most palatable thing in the world. It doesn't really fill you up. But if you're like 25 grams of protein off or 50 grams of protein off, I would prefer to see someone do what they can with whole foods and then supplement with a protein shake if you can get a hold of it, if you can afford it. Because it depends. Like, I'm going to have steak tonight, and it's not something I eat all the time. I usually don't go in and spend $20 on 2 ribeye steaks to eat with my girlfriend for dinner. It's something to splurge on, So normally I eat chicken that I can get for $10, and that feeds me for almost an entire week. So, you know, if you're going for beef, I say poultry is it's a good thing to go. It's a good substitution versus beef. And like April said, fish is good too. You know, you got to make do with what you can get a hold of. There are people that have made incredible gains, increased their strength to superhuman levels, eating the nastiest, weirdest foods that you would never think were gonna work at all. Like, yeah, look up the diets of early 1900s, late 1800s strongmen. They're guys that are just living on beer and flour and eating fish occasionally and stuff like that. Putting raw eggs, if they could get them, into their beer with a little bit of honey and drinking that as like a health drink. People have done some crazy stuff. So there's a way. If there's a will, there's a way. And Shellon expanded. He said, actually, my issue is I compete on an international level in Olympic weightlifting as a master's athlete. Shellon, I wish I had gotten to this question sooner. That's very interesting to me. I love weightlifting. The reason I'm shy is because you think I would be better versed in nutrition, but I joined so that I can better understand that eating is my job as much as training is. And it totally is. Like I've been talking about, you know, I'm a power lifter. I'm not competing at an international level yet, not even a national level yet, but it's my job. I have to eat. And I'm not worried about my six-pack. And like you said, I'd rather worry about getting 171 kilogram total rather than having a six-pack. And that's exactly what you need to focus on. But, all right, so you're an international level weightlifter. Don't be shy. Even if you think you have a lot to learn about nutrition, it's not all that complicated when it comes down to it. Just be open and get into the forum and help everybody out with their Olympic weightlifting because, you know, it's hard. That's really cool. So if you're still here, Shellon, thank you for coming and asking questions. All right. So Lana Lander says, April, I should have asked you this earlier when I was sharing my impatience with you, and she says smiley face, so that is not a mean comment. What is a reasonable period of time to expect to see some results in my midsection if I continue to do the ETP and some workouts, or same workouts, CrossFit 4 times a week? What's a rough estimate on expecting to see maybe an inch or two loss?
I would say probably anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks. Generally is enough time that most people will adjust to the difference of the, you know, the intake, the increase, the whatever, and then they will actually, you know, start seeing progress. I know for me personally, you know, whenever I started pushing the limit and I started increasing my calories, it was about a good 9 to 12 weeks that, you know, everything still kind of looked the same, but I kept pushing through. You know, my strength was increasing, my performance was increasing, and then all of a sudden one day I just looked in the mirror and was like, holy cow, you know, when did I get, you know, striations on my shoulders and delts like that? And, you know, it's like it just completely happened overnight. But everybody is completely different. You know, I've had some members, I've worked with some people who, you know, they do Eat to Perform, and the first month, you know, they've dropped 4 pounds and their performance has skyrocketed, and, you know, and then there's others who, you know, after 2 months, you know, you got to keep continuing because everybody's different, you know. But I would say just generally as an adjustment phase, I would say at least 8 weeks. What is your opinion?
Well, my opinion is just that, and she had a follow-up. I didn't want to interrupt you. She says she's asking this. I know all people are different and can expect different results. I just want to be realistic and not get upset or down on myself when it doesn't happen quickly enough. And I would say, you know, just to add to what April said, you never know. You could wake up one day and just be like, damn, I look good. And that's how it is in my experience. You know, I'll do something like I was saying earlier to Teddy, if you're still there, Teddy. Cutting, I decided I wanted to cut because I thought I was getting a little too pudgy, right? Because I've been trying to gain weight. I've gained 30 pounds. It was my goal to gain all this weight. I wanted to go up a weight class for powerlifting. I wanted to get bigger and stronger. I wanted to look like I work out. So I didn't think that I looked like that overnight. It took me about a month or two, and then I was like, you know what? I need to back off of my calories. And then I did that for 2 weeks, and I was like, you know what? This isn't working out. A week later, bam, all of a sudden I look at myself and I think I look leaner. It comes and goes. I say for me it's like 60 days. if I don't do something for at least 60 days, I don't see the difference. But it seems like it comes overnight because you see yourself so often, you know. And that's why I think some kind of objective measure like taking progress pictures is good, and you can see the small, minute changes in your physique. Because if you're just going upon, you know, what you see day to day, there are some days where you could sleep on your arm wrong and wake up and you got indentations from your sheet or your pillow, and then you're like, damn, my arms look bad. But really, it's that you slept funny on your arm. So you got to take pictures. You got to, you know, you can ask other people for opinions, and sometimes it helps to just get under an overhead light and flex and just see if you notice anything different. It might be the teeniest little difference in your abs. It might be the teeniest little difference in the clavicular region of your upper body. You know, you might notice this, like the silhouette of your body, just how you look on, like I think I'm looking pretty good right now. I like how the shirt looks on me. But you know, I didn't notice that last week when I wore this shirt. So I'm with April. It takes time. Be realistic. I think you have a good mindset going into it.
The thing about Lena too is I'm trying to continue to encourage her, because it took her you know, a couple weeks to get into a good groove with her food choices and everything. And once she's finally gotten that down, her performance is, you know, she's blowing up her performance. She's doing awesome with CrossFit. You know, I think that if she continued to ride those gains and, you know, keep killing it every time she walks into the gym, you know, potentially she's going to add more muscle mass, and in turn her body fat's going to decrease, and she won't have to focus so much as in regards as the number, you know, in regards to, you know, I haven't seen the scale decrease at all, but at the same time she may be adding muscle mass and, you know, dropping body fat, and, you know, her body fat percentage may actually have decreased, you know, 3 to 5% and stayed the same weight, you know. So
yeah, and that happens with athletes. Like I'll say this real quick, but a lot of the information that we apply to our diet and everything comes from the bodybuilding physique world. General, you know, I want to lose weight, I want to look good for the beach type diets that really prey on misinformation and not giving people realistic expectations of what's going on, not setting them up to understand, you know, this is a lifestyle. But, you know, if you CrossFit, you're an athlete. You have given up being a normal person. You have joined like I said earlier, you joined the cult. You're part of the family. You know, I'm a power lifter. I don't CrossFit, but, you know, we're part of the same family. We are athletes doing this for the love of being athletic. I love deadlifting, squatting, and benching. And you probably love wall balls and double unders and muscle ups and snatches and clean and jerks and GHD and all the stuff that comes along with CrossFit. So if you love that more than you love what you were doing before that, then you need to support whatever you're doing, and you need to realize, you know, you're not going to see linear decreases in weight. You might stay the same weight, like April said. You might stay the same weight and add so much muscle to your frame that your body fat decreases, and you just don't realize it. And that's kind of, it's part of the territory. Whereas your average person might be like, oh, I lost 10 pounds, I look so good. They don't look any different at all. You can stay the same weight because of your lifestyle and because of your approach to nutrition and look completely different and just not realize it, because you have to get to that point where you're ready to see it, where you're ready to believe that you've changed your body. So stick with it. And we got some specific information from Holly. We have about 4 minutes left, so
Give it to me. I'll start to say, give it to me, and I'll run it real quick.
Holly says she's 5'2", 145 pounds, CrossFit's 4 or 5 days a week, and she asked if 2,400 calories is too much.
That actually does sound like a bit much. Let me look.
Yeah.
How old is Holly?
I'm not sure.
Did she say?
Or she says she's 41.
Okay.
You're welcome, Lena. Adriana, a good protein powder. I'm just going to, right off the top of my head, the one that I use and I love, even though if you buy Progenic stuff from our website, we get, we're an affiliate, You can buy Progenics. It's good stuff, but what I personally use is Optimum Nutrition. I think that's available globally wherever you want it, wherever you want, wherever you live, you can get it. So Optimum Nutrition, gold standard, you can get it on Amazon for $50 for a 5-pound tub, whatever flavor you want. They're all good flavors. That's what I would go for.
In regards to Holly, because she trains an average of 4 to 5 days a week, I would probably start her out at moderately active. Even at 2,400 sounds like it might be extremely active. But with her height and weight, that would put her around 2,061 calories with 145 grams of protein, 75 grams of fat, and 202 for carbs on her workout days. I would recommend, if she's coming from a lower calorie intake, starting with working up to that, to the moderately active setting, and then once she adjusts that intake, see how she feels and how she's performing and how the scale's fluctuating, and then, she may need to eventually adjust up to the very active setting, which will probably only add about maybe 50 grams of carbs on top of that, maybe 200 calories or so. It would not come up to 2,400, so I do think 2,400 is too high.
Yeah. Definitely. And, you can always add more food anyways. So I say start off lower. Let's see. We've got Gail she just left because we're going to shut things down in about 60 seconds here. I have 2 more questions. Let's see. Sometimes when I work out hard, I get the dry heaves. Is there anything I can do to prevent this? Usually it's halfway through my workout. After that passes, I'm fine. I don't know what's going on. Thoughts? That's from Steve Loosely. I would say you are pushing yourself way too hard and overheating. So I've been there. When I started CrossFit a couple years ago, I was doing powerlifting. I was like, I want to CrossFit. It's so cool. It's so much fun. And my first couple workouts, I got sick and puked. Literally had to run outside and vomit. But I had food in my belly because I knew that if I wanted to bust my butt at the gym, I needed to eat. If I didn't have anything in my belly, it would have been dry heaving. And what I found was just that I cannot do long endurance activity without getting sick. It might be because of my weight. It might be because of some kind of genetic factor. I don't know, but I get that way when I run too. So I would start to back off. When you start feeling like that, just stop and see if you can't gradually over time push the endurance, push the work capacity. But there's no merit in puking. It's not hardcore. It doesn't justify what you're doing. I'd say just back off a little bit. And April, can we answer one more question?
Absolutely.
And Shellen, he adds, I think there is a syndrome known as exercise-induced nausea, and yeah, that could be something that you need to talk to a doctor about. There's just so many variables that come into play, but I think for most people it's just like if you get exercise-induced headaches, it's just that you're pushing too hard too early on in your development as an athlete, and you need to kind of find where your wheelhouse is and improve your engine before you really start driving yourself into the ground. So Denise Hughes asks, are the calculators age-adjusted? Yes, they are. As a 48-year-old female who gained 30 pounds of fat, and I hear endlessly how hard it is to lose after about the mid-40s, I'm a little nervous about the 2,366 calories the calculator returned. I'm not afraid to eat, I'm just frustrated at the inability to lose fat. And yes, I was undereating unintentionally, around 1,700, 1,800 calories. She CrossFits 2 to 3 times a week and does kettlebell training 1 to 2 times a week. So she's got about 5 days of activity. I would say, Denise, yeah, the calculators are age adjusted, but you know the whole deal at this point. If you've been listening, you don't want to go from 1,800 calories, 1,700 calories straight to 2,400 calories overnight. The whole idea with the calculator is to give you an estimate, to give you a goal based upon formulas that have been, they were brought about 80 years ago and revised in the early 90s that accurately reflect the energetic demands of an adult human adjusted for age and activity level. So while that is a good estimate, you never know. You might need more, you might need less.
And also, just to add before we cut off, if you know your body fat percentage, there is an option to add that in to the calculator, and that does actually change the numbers as well. So if you have a higher body fat percentage, it is going to reduce your calorie levels down, and if you have a lower body fat percentage, it is going to increase your calorie intake up. So if you do know that, then I would suggest adding that in as well.
Yeah, that can help you dial in and get a more accurate reflection. But you know, it's just a calculator. You got to start somewhere. I always say, and this will be my last word for the webinar, I always say to track your food just for a couple days. Like I just want 48 hours to see what you're eating because that's generally an idea of what maintains your body weight. And then from there, I'd like to see people add 200 or 300 calories at most every week, depending upon their size, maybe even 100 calories, and gradually work their calories up to whatever the calculator estimates, and then go above and beyond that a little bit and see what happens with your weight, see what happens with your performance, see what happens with your body composition, because you never know. It's always just an estimate. And if you don't do experimentation on yourself, you never figure out what works best, then you're really kind of holding yourself back. So unless you have anything to add, April, I'm going to shut this puppy down.
No, not at all.
All right. Well, thank you for your questions, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for looking at my red shirt and my animal poster. Thank you for being cool. And we will see you in the forums if you want to watch this webinar again so that you can get a better handle on whatever we answered. Then it'll be available as a link in the forum shortly after this presentation. And I think that's all I've got to say. Once again, thank you very much. I hope everyone has a great evening or a great morning if you're from another part of the world.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.